Hi, it's Dr. Patricia Coughlin again, and I'm following up or elaborating on the concept of the corrective emotional experience that I began to talk to you about last week. So initially we were talking about the corrective experience of having, experiencing, and expressing previously avoided feelings. But there's really something about the whole approach of ISTDP, which is what I practice, that is often starkingly corrective for patients in all kinds of ways. That we are what Balint called presenting a counter offer. We are interacting with the patient in a very new and hopefully therapeutic way. I don't know if you all have read this book, Basic Principles and Techniques of Short-Term Dynamic Psychotherapy. It was edited by Davenlow, published back in '78, and it is the result of a major international conference with all the big names, Malin, Davenlow, Sifnios, and then there was quite a panel of noted, in most cases, psychiatrists who were watching the videotapes, listening to the presentations, and then commenting. So they had this panel discussion, and all of this is actually contained in this book. And one of the things that's interesting is Davenlow didn't use this phrase. He didn't talk about, in those words, facilitating a corrective emotional experience. And yet what's interesting is that almost all the people on the panel commented on that. And what they were really commenting on was the whole atmosphere that Davenlow was creating, and that his focused attention on really understanding the patient in a very deep way was in and of itself corrective. And I certainly have a lot of examples of that myself. In fact, one of the first patients that I tried using ISTDP with 30 years ago was a young woman who was quite vague and general in her comments and responses to my questions. She used a lot of what we would call tactical defenses. She was avoiding my eyes, crossing her arms, and was really quite avoidant, both of her own inner experience and of getting close with me. And so I began to really point this out to her, and how she was erecting a barrier to contact that was going to undermine our work together. And the more I pressed, in a sense, on those defenses, in a way it looked like they were intensifying. And so that was my signal that she was having feelings toward me coming up around this approach. And so I started to ask her, it looks like you're having feelings here toward me. I mean, what are the feelings? And then she looked right at me and she said, it seems like you expect me to be angry, but I'm telling you, I've never had anybody try so hard to get to know me. And then she started to cry. So the fact that I was really persevering, not accepting these vague responses as something substantive, as if I was actually getting to know her, but that I kept probing and really wanting to connect with her in a deep way, was very corrective for her, and again brought up a lot of feelings. So understanding the person's general manner of interacting. Many of our patients are extremely passive and compliant and people-pleasing. So it's really important to spot that and not to in any way go along with it, but really to invite the patient to come forward, right, with their desires, their needs, their wants, not responding in a way that's going to somehow please us. And that, again, doing so, letting the person know, I am here for you. I don't have my own agenda. What I want is not the issue here, right, is in and of itself very corrective. Now, there's another case in which it was so important for me to recognize what was happening. This was a woman, I think it was her third session, so the first two sessions had just gone swimmingly. I mean, really, according to the book, did inquiry, then started to work on her defenses. They crystallized in the transference. We got a big breakthrough in the transference with substantive links to the mother in the first session, to the father in the second session. So, we were just off and running, and it was already really having a positive effect on her and her life. But in the third session, as we started to, again, dive into what she was feeling and what she was feeling toward me, she just put her arms like this and she said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was really surprised. And I thought, well, there's a massive resistance coming up. And I started to intervene sort of in the same way I would have in the past too. But she persisted and she said, look, I know there are feelings there. I know this has been helpful to me, but I just don't want to do it. I don't want to keep just having angry feelings towards you. And because she kept persisting, I started to think, I wonder if there's something new arising here. This is a woman who had been totally masochistic, submissive, always going along with other people. And so even though this was not elegant in any way, for her to dare to say no to me, the authority, I started to realize, right, was important in and of itself. And so I actually started to listen to her. I said, no, okay, you don't want to. Let's understand this and what you do want. And that was it. She said, what do I want? No one has ever asked me that. And I don't even know. This was a huge turning point, okay? So again, I hope this makes the point, right? That it is of the greatest importance that you really have a clear case conceptualization for each patient, that you understand, not just their defenses against feelings and so on, but their characteristic way of being, right? How they adapted to whatever the circumstances were in their own family and how that has had a life of its own. And so rather than, again, in any way support or reinforce that dysfunctional way of relating, we're going to block that, with these. Sometimes I'll specifically say, you're doing the same thing here with me, being passive, compliant, people-pleasing. This just won't wash. We're not going to do it, having me lead and you follow, forget it, right? That's not the way, that's not going to be helpful, right? So let's see what you want. Let's see what you're going to do, right? And then I'm actually responding to them. This is totally new, totally different, and deeply corrective. So I hope this helps you to kind of expand this concept of the corrective emotional experience and inspire you to be really, really clear, not just about what we're doing and what we're talking about, but how we do it and how important that is to facilitate this very new and corrective experience, both internally, right, between the patient and their feelings, but also between the two of you, right, that you are intervening and responding in a new and corrective way and processing then the patient's feelings about that. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. Let me know. Feedback, questions, I'm open to all of it. Thanks. Bye-bye.